What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Ask E Everything. I want to get right to it here and start out by thanking everybody for tuning in, but also wishing everybody well during these even crazier times now. There is even more chaos going on in our country and the world than when I last spoke to everyone. And I got to tell you, if you had told me that I was going to start my YouTube channel not only in the middle of a world viral pandemic, but also in the year 2020, still in the middle of a complete level of just chaos, social injustice, and rampant racism. If you had told me that a few months ago, believe it or not, I would have probably believed you, unfortunately. But it doesn't make it any less alarming that that's what we're still here dealing with. I'm hoping everyone out there is feeling safe and feeling at least as though they're able to exercise their beliefs and their opinions in a safe way, in an organized way, and in a way where they feel like they're at least being heard and being felt. The question today and the video content today is more about a search that I have been on the past couple days, trying to navigate all of this stuff and trying to bring it back down, I guess, to a more centered place, a more kind of primary place. None of this work that I've been doing thinking about this is to negate any of the grandness of this thing whatsoever. But as I was reading all of the conflicting material that all of the press and all of my friends and family and everyone on social media is posting, I started to get this sense that people's anger and people's sadness, people's frustration, and people's kind of negative emotions have kind of taken over the charge on how to go about possibly making this a little better at the ground level. Now, this video is not attempting to solve racism as a whole or social injustice or the issues that we have as a nation with our police system. But as I watched all of these folks kind of start to almost compete with each other on their opinions about how you're supposed to react to this whole thing, it became really kind of disconcerting and alarming. A lot of this stemmed from Blackout Tuesday, which just took place a few days ago. And I kind of woke up and hopped onto social media in the afternoon and started to see a lot of the blacked out, screens being posted, and there was definitely some solidarity and some sense of camaraderie going on, but it very quickly escalated within a few short hours into folks commenting negatively on how people were expressing themselves and starting to get kind of more preachy and almost attacking folks for doing what they thought was a good thing. And regardless of where you stand on any of this, with regard to what Black Lives Matter means, or what the Blackout Tuesday was all about, or your stance on this kind of racist language that we're all trying to navigate these days. Regardless of your position on it, I think what everyone could agree on is that we need to be united in the front against all of this. And part of being united is being open-minded to how others are thinking and to how others are reacting to the situation. I got really sad when I started to see people getting, instead of, saying, hey, I know what you're trying to do by posting this, but this might be something else that you could look into, or, hey, if you want some more education on the Black Lives Matter movement, or on kind of the history of what's been going on here, here's some literature, here's a link to a website, here's something that you could do. Instead of like offering an alternate or offering an enhanced opinion, it got to the point where it seemed like people were fighting over this united, of this front where we're supposed to be united. So instead of actually taking on anything to do with racism or with social injustice or with bad cop behavior, I now was watching people basically, through their negative energy, kind of making other people feel bad and shaming others for how they were reacting. I think it's a great time to remember that not everyone has the same set of education with regard to topics like this, and we could probably all argue that everyone can always be more educated on topics like this. However, it's important to accept that at any given time, you might know a lot more about this than someone else, or vice versa. You might know very little compared to someone else. You also might have more personal experience with all of this than someone else, or you might have no experience whatsoever personally, but still be sympathetic or empathetic to the cause and be very interested in trying to assist it or trying to help it. We cannot be against each other when it comes to trying to be united on this front where we all need to be united on. Later on on Tuesday, I felt like a lot of people that acted harshly in the interim kind of composed themselves a little bit and started to realize maybe how their tone came across. And so by the evening and even into yesterday, which was Wednesday, I started to see a lot more good material circulating. So a lot of folks that had come across a little harsh up front might have started to post in their story some links that people could click on, or some videos, or some funds that people could donate to. And the information got a little more useful. So the hope returned a little bit in that sense, but again, I feel like the damage was already done, because anytime you have someone trying to support a cause to the best of their ability, and look, you could argue, well, they could have a better ability, they could be more educated before they go ahead and post something or do something, but the reality is in the given moment, you have to understand that anybody trying to post anything to help the cause probably believes in that moment that they're doing a good thing. And at this time, when there's so much negative energy going on, in the world and definitely in our divided country, we need as much positivity as possible. So, all of that to say that it left me asking this big question. Well, okay, what is the one thing that every single person can do at any given time, regardless of their background, their socioeconomic status, their religion, their place in the country, their level of education and experience on the topic of racism? What is the one thing that we could unite on? What is the one thing that every single person can do at any given time to fight this bullshit racism, epidemic that we're dealing with? And at first I started to think more grandly, and I just kept backtracking, getting down, minimizing, making it more and more simple. And I landed in the most simple place that I could have ever landed, but it seemed like almost a forgotten territory or a forgotten land because of the, kind of turmoil and the chaos and all the anger and hatred that has been going on. The answer to this question is as simple as it could be. And remember, as I often say in these videos, those are often the greatest, truest answers. The ones that are so simple that you almost have to scratch your head and think, is that even, correct? But the answer is, just be kind to one another. Be a little more kind. Be a little bit nicer. Be a little bit of a, quote, better person to the people around you. Every single person can do this right now and every moment going forward. They can do it regardless of where they live, who they're surrounded by, what city they're in. they can do it regardless of a curfew that's been imposed on them, regardless of the laws that exist in the country, regardless of the president, the National Guard, the police, regardless of any parameter that can be put on us. The one thing we can do, regardless of the position we're in, is just be a little more kind. Now, I understand that this is not going to solve this whole crisis overnight or even in any short period of time. I'm not suggesting that there is a solution that's that simple. If there was, you would think we would have found it by now. But I'm simply saying that while we are fighting the cause, while we are supporting what we believe in, while we are trying to get laws changed and do whatever you believe in, whether you want to defund the police or just change the education in the country or fully overhaul the set of laws that exist. Those things take time, they take money, and unfortunately they take shit like politics and the same people that are part of the problem in allowing this to happen, over all of these years. A lot of that is going to have to be done by those same people. Now, we can protest, we can stand up for what we believe in, we should do that. As a matter of fact, if we're not doing that, we're definitely not going to get to or any closer to a solution. But in the meantime, and while we're even doing those things, and on all of our downtime, before and after you head out into the streets, or while you're sitting in jail or while you've been bailed out of jail, wherever you are in this process, and however you're choosing to combat it and fight it, you can also just be a little bit nicer to the people around you. I understand that it takes things like anger and frustration and sadness and pain to motivate us right now. And I do believe that those are important feelings and concepts to be experiencing. Because without them, I really don't think we're ever going to be able to make the point that needs to be made to the extent that it actually needs to be made. But when you come down from all of that, and when you separate from it, and when you're, living the rest of your life that day as it goes on, and when you're surrounded by other people that are also caring and having the passion that you have, let's be kind. Let's unite on the positive energy. Let's unite on loving one another. Let's unite on all the concepts that we're fighting for. Let's unite on those. Let's not be the ones that are uniting on the very principles that we're fighting against, like anger and separation and judgment and, persecution and hatred. I talk about it a lot on this channel, how I do firmly believe that negative emotions oftentimes end up getting the spotlight. And I always firmly believe that it's important to let them in to a degree. But as you well know on this channel, and what I promote is positivity. And I do firmly believe that simple things like kindness and caring for one another and loving each other, even in this concerted effort where we're at war with racism, while we're also at war with this coronavirus. It's a lot to handle. But the nicer we can be and the more positive we can be, especially when we pull back and when we calm down a little bit, the better we're going to be. So get out there and fight for what you believe. Don't stop that. Stay mad, stay upset, stay angry at what we should be angry about. But let us not fall victim to actually presenting ourselves in a way that's counterproductive or counterintuitive to the very things we're fighting for, which is equality, respect, dignity, pride, love, kindness, you know? It sounds simple, but somewhere along the way, it's getting left behind. And regardless of what you believe, I can tell you this much. The people that want racism to stay around and the people that want our country to be divided in that way are going to win if we continue to only fight racism in that same anger, hatred, and kind of just, you know, frustrated or frustration-filled manner. Stay in the fight, but when you come down from the fight, when you step outside of the ring, let's put as much energy into actually spreading the love, spreading the respect, and spreading the kindness to one another, especially the ones that you're surrounding yourself by. And it'll only make us stronger when we get back in the ring. Again, guys, I hope you're out there doing what you believe in. I never want to take that away from anyone or suggest that that should ever be compromised. But every once in a while, think outside the box. Take a step back. Bring it down to the basics. Take a look inside. You know, ask yourself, what can I do all the time? What is something I can always do more of? You've got a couple assets like love, kindness, that you have an infinite amount of. There's no limit. There's no bank account. There's no limit. People cannot limit how kind you want to be to one another and how much you want to love one another. So we do that. We get stronger. We spread that. And honestly, the wave that we're trying to build to crash down on top of all this bullshit and to kind of wash it out is only going to get stronger and more well-formed. And on the other end of it, we're going to already be set up to be in a better place. I hope you get something from this video. If you've got any comments on it, I always welcome them. Again, do what you got to do. Do what you believe in. Don't ever give up on the things you believe in, especially the causes. But let's not judge people for how they're going about it. Let's not be critical of how others are going about it. Let's understand that anyone trying to do something good is trying to do something good. If you believe you're in some position where you are better qualified to do good, then help teach others how to do that. Instead of just coming down on them, because when you do that, they're going to curl up in a ball and they're going to go, holy shit, okay, maybe I just can't support this cause. Maybe I just don't know what to do. So now I'm just going to do nothing. And we all know what happens when people do nothing. Nothing changes. So have a great day, guys. Stay safe out there. And let's love each other. Let's be kind to one another. Send me any comments, questions. Be happy to continue to go over them. I know this is some heavy stuff, but this is just what the universe is giving us right now. The only dumb question is the one that goes unanswered. As I always say, happy to answer anything you can imagine. And in the meantime, as I always say, let's be courteous to one another. And let's continue to be curious. And we'll see you soon. Stay safe.